Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you're joining us from. Welcome to our curriculum-led session on designing business continuity plans, lessons learned from COVID-19 and multi-hazards. I'm Liz Fabian, the Executive Director of the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, and also the focal point for Arise curriculum. Additionally, as a member of the Global Arise Board, I'm pleased to welcome you to this session. Business continuity plans are really vital to enhancing the resilience of our private sector. And there are many risks and shocks that threaten the survival of our businesses in the Americas and the Caribbean, as well as in all regions of the world. Moreover, in recent years, these occurrences have intensified and they've strengthened in terms of their strength and frequency. And COVID-19 and multi-hazards have brought to the fore that businesses need to prevent and mitigate the risk in order to enhance their resilience. Across the Americas and the Caribbean, it must be noted, though, that there are best practices that have been realized by our small and medium enterprises, as well as by our multinational companies. Some of these best practices are worth highlighting to inspire improved action among our companies. Today, I'm really pleased that we have two companies who have exhibited best practices which could inspire improved action among our attendees here today, and others who will receive the information that's shared from this session. So in addition to what our private sector has done, there's a role for the public sector in supporting this resilience. Our governments are catalysts to ensure the successful implementation of our business continuity plans. When the government fulfills its role in providing an enabling environment and the necessary support, the private sector becomes more resilient and able to better prevent and mitigate our disaster risk. Our partner, Diseño, will provide insight into the role of the government. CARICHAM, which is a network of Caribbean Chambers of Commerce, together with other partners, we have designed a business continuity planning toolkit, which will be launched towards the end of this session. We invite you to stay tuned to understand how you can benefit from this toolkit, whether you're part of the public or private sector. Importantly, it's a time that we also engage our audience, and we want to seek to understand who is part of the session today and your thoughts on business continuity planning. I now invite Misha Loban-Clark, who is the Executive Director of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also the focal point for Arise Barbados, to lead us in this poll. Misha?
Thank you, Lizra, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Welcome. Now it's our opportunity to hear from you and to get some insight into the sectors represented here. So I would just like to ask for the first poll to be launched so that we could have our participants participate. Has the poll been launched? Okay, I'm not seeing it.
Yes, it's up on the screen now.
Okay. So I'm not able to see the poll, but the first question is asking what stakeholder group do you represent? And we have a range of questions being asked, whether you're an Arise Network member, a member of a Chamber of Commerce, the private sector or the public sector, or an NGO or other. So, Lizra, since I'm not able to see the poll, I would like someone to just notify me when the poll is closed.
Okay, great. So far we have 7 persons who are participating in the poll. We do encourage more persons to indicate. You just go to the section, the tab that says poll, and you would be able to indicate which stakeholder group you're part of.
Yes, we're hoping to be able to get at least 80% of you participating. So we indeed encourage you to complete the poll. So the poll has been closed.
Yes, we could read the results.
So we're seeing the results of the first poll. Unfortunately, Lizra, what I'm seeing on screen. Okay, great. So we have 43% of participants from the public sector and 13% being represented Arise Network members. The public sector and NGOs, as well as others, represent 13% of the participants. And the person who is handling the poll, I'm not able to see from my screen the percentage of Chamber of Commerce. Later, if you're able to see it, you could probably assist us.
So I think most persons would indicate themselves as from the private sector as opposed to from the Chamber of Commerce. So perhaps we would move to the next question now, seeing that we would have this result.
Okay, so the person managing the poll would ask you to just move to poll number 2. And that question is, have you used a business continuity plan to enhance your resilience? We encourage you to participate because this will help us to be able to assess how well used is business continuity plan and enhance resilience for your respective organizations. The results from this poll indicate 71% excellent and 75% and no 25%. Well, it's continuing, 78%. So the poll is closed.
We still see that persons are participating, and maybe we'll just give a few more seconds and move to the final question.
Yeah. All right. So the results here, the final results, 75%. Responses positive and no 25%. And we would just like to move to the next poll. Which of the following statements reflect your belief about BCPs? And this is in an effort to assess perception and attitude. So launch a poll, please. Okay. Thank you all for participating. Our responses are it seems as if we still need to just give persons a few more minutes. Okay. The responses are as follows, that 57% of persons online believes that BCP are very essential to improving the resilience of business operations. 21% believe that it is sometimes necessary. 14% believe BCP have limited value in improving the resilience of business operations. And the remaining 7% indicates that they have not been informed sufficiently enough about the usefulness of BCP. We want to thank you all for participating, and Israel, I'm going to hand over to you at this time.
Thank you very much, Misha, for conducting our first poll. So now that we're aware of who's here and what your thoughts are, I wish to introduce our expert panel who will respond to some of our key questions today. Our first presenter is Andrea Grossner. Miss Andrea Grossner is a humanitarian with a passion for helping people managing disasters, to which she has devoted herself for more than 20 years. Currently, she's working with the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, and her endeavors over the last 5 years have been more strategic than operational. As her areas of responsibility focus on strategic and corporate planning, resource mobilization, monitoring and evaluation, she has been also the focal point for reporting on the achievements in the Caribbean on the comprehensive disaster management strategy. And this contributes to the Sendai risk reduction framework. Our second presenter is Karen Shalmine. And Karen has been employed with Massey Stores in St. Lucia for the past 26 years. And in his current role, as he is the Deputy Divisional Head responsible for business continuity, loss prevention, risk, and support for sustainable development projects, he's been working in a number of areas in the Massey company. Over the past 40 years, he's supported inventory control, purchasing, operations, and a number of other areas within the business process. He has a wealth of knowledge, and importantly, with his business continuity portfolio, he has established the foundation for business continuity management at Massey Stores. During his time at the company, he's also continued to move from a reactive approach to a calculative approach on the business continuity scale. And finally, for Karen, his most current and major assignments include working with various departments to develop their response plan for COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, and also the business continuity response for Massey Stores, waterfront, supermarkets, fire recovery. Our third and final presenter for our panel is Luis Fernando. And Luis is an architect who graduated from the University of San Carlos in Guatemala. And he has a master's degree in integrated management systems with the endorsement of the Bureau Veritas of Camilo Jose of Madrid, Spain. He studied business administration and the role of the private sector in disaster risk reduction with an emphasis on business continuity. He is also the lead auditor. He was the lead auditor in integrated management systems, and he completed his diploma in comprehensive disaster risk management and its impact on sustainable development. He has been very much involved in comprehensive disaster management and risk reduction, as he did different studies with the Ministry of National Defense and the National Institute of Public Administration in Guatemala. And finally, he completed his comprehensive management of disaster risk reduction in political strategy with the Ministry of Defense National at Guatemala. So now that we've seen and established that we have a panel of persons who are very knowledgeable in their field, we will seek to answer three major questions. After our presenters, we want to share with you that Misha will take us through an opinion poll where we get to validate your opinions from the three presentations. So firstly, Andrea, we invite you to share with us, what is the role of the government in crisis with consideration to support business continuity planning?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and may I say warm greetings from the Caribbean. It's a pleasure to be a part of this panel and to be part of this conversation. I only have a short time, and so I want to manage the time that has been allocated to deal with what could be a very lengthy subject. So we're looking at designing our business continuity plans so we can draw from some of the lessons that we've learned from COVID-19 and multi-hazards. And my specific role is ready to talk about the role of governments in crisis with considerations to support business continuity planning. I think I have a stuck screen, so let me try one more time. I'll stop and I will reshare. Okay, there we are. So as we look at the Caribbean environment, it's a beautiful environment. This is where we love, this is where we live, and this is really where we have a lot of beautiful things, beautiful flowers, beautiful scenery, and this is also the place where we do business within the Caribbean, and it's also linked to a global world. But we recognize that our Caribbean environment is really impacted by a number of hazards, and these are diverse. From hurricane threats, we have volcanic eruptions, we also have had the threat of oil spill and landslides, floods, and there is the ongoing the COVID-19 pandemic caused by the coronavirus. And in fact, in the last year alone, 2020 to 2021, we have certainly seen the impacts or the threats of all of these hazards on the Caribbean landscape. I think one of the things that we want to underscore is that with these hazards, and perhaps I'll just go back just one, with these hazards, it's not just the hazard by hazard approach that we are concerned about. It is the fact that the impact of these hazards, it is a complex reality. We have multiple hazards, we have cascading impacts, and we have hazards that are occurring for a longer duration than we would probably have been accustomed to. And some of this is happening in the same geographic space. So for instance, just to give one example, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you had a volcanic eruption. We then also had rainfall events that caused hot lahars. And this was all being undertaken against a COVID-19 environment. And we also had a dengue outbreak. So this is really sending the message that this is not just about the hazard by hazard approach environment anymore, but really we are talking about a very complex, complicated environment that we need to take into account as we seek to conduct business within the Caribbean environment. So in an uncertain world where it may be considered also volatile and complex, and where crisis will abound, it is important to focus on the goal. And that goal is to be open for business. If your business is closed, then of course you can't provide services and you obviously cannot be able to be successful and to grow. So therefore, it is important that the businesses be opened. And so therefore, we want to highlight that when we're talking about businesses being opened, we are really talking about dealing with this issue of the business continuity. And this seeks to protect your key assets, such as your people, your technology, your equipment, your intellectual capital, and to enable the organization to minimize disruptions and to ensure stability and provide for early recovery. And I consider this a three-legged stool, looking at the plant, the people, and the processes. And this is absolutely essential because business continuity in the past has focused primarily on information and communications technologies. But your people are absolutely critical because they are the foundation of your business. And you also have to think about your plan. And in these times where so many things have gone online, you have to think about cybersecurity and the threats that may be posed in that context. So therefore, what is the role of government? I want to suggest that we need to have a deal. And what is a deal? Is really an agreement entered into by two or more parties for their mutual benefit. So this deal, I am saying, is an acronym. So I think the government needs to be a driver. They need to provide an enabling environment to policy, legislation, and strategic direction. They need to enable. There is a need for businesses to have access to essential services in the aftermath of an impact. Well, before, obviously, because we can have business disruptions that can be related to water. Maybe water is a key asset for a business. And even without an emergency, you can have a water disruption that can affect how that business functions. So things like water, electricity, telecoms, these things need to be reliable, ease of doing business. They need to be reliable during normal times, and also once there's an impact, we need to be able to ensure that these are also protected, that the business can have access to these. And the government needs to be able to provide assistance. It is assistance in several ways. We know that people and businesses need to make provisions for, ensuring that they can withstand shocks. But government, as an insurer of last resort, can provide some sort of support to businesses, to the medium, micro, and small businesses, so that they can be able to get back up on their feet once they are impacted. And also having facilities that persons can be able to address shocks through social protection mechanisms that can be horizontally or vertically expanded. And then finally, I would say they need to leverage. They need to leverage private-public partnerships so that they can be able to focus and be able to advance areas that are critical for the country's recovery. So if we think about deal and we turn it around, we are already also saying lead. Governments need to lead. And I will just therefore talk about some of the things that, we can put on the table that have occurred over the years. Now, we recognize we have done a comprehensive disaster management audit by SEDEMA, and we recognize that business continuity planning as well as government continuity planning was actually low. We recognize that we are undertaking actions to improve in this area. We understand and we recognize the work of CARCHAM in being able to advance the work in the private sector. We also recognize that there was a study in 2018 by UNDRR that showed that even as we were looking at business continuity plans, that those business continuity plans themselves did not treat the breadth of what needed to be treated. So these are things that we need to look at. I can draw on a few examples even as I wrap up, because I know time is short, in terms of this whole matter of driving, enabling, assisting, and leveraging. So in Virgin Islands, for example, one of the things in the enabling environment is that the BCP, having a BCP plan, is tied to the licensing of businesses. And so what they found is that for the finance sector, the day after Irma hit BVI in 2017, they were able to come back online. We also recognize that across the Caribbean, we're seeing assistance packages that are being provided to a number of businesses to keep them in business so that they can continue to provide services. And also we have seen social protection systems for people who need to participate in the economy being vertically and horizontally expanded. We also note that in terms of for the aftermath of services, we know that in Virgin Islands, they have also shared that they prioritize certain things to be back in place. So for instance, electricity was prioritized to rebuild the system so that the persons can be able to go online and still continue business. And in terms of leveraging partnerships, we also acknowledge the work that was done in IVAN for Cayman in 2004, where the private sector and the government worked together to re-establish the financial services. And therefore, within 5 business days, we had the financial sector back up and running. So therefore, I want to encourage us to think about the deal, but also to address the whole matter of lead, so governments can lead even by their own example in terms of their own business continuity for governments, that they effectively can drive this agenda of business continuity across the nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea, for sharing these key points. And we noted that you mentioned that the governments must have a deal with the private sector. I do like that: driver, educating, assisting, and leverage, but also to lead. And I do hope that our countries will be able to implement this advice so that we can have a better enabling environment for private sector. We now move to our second presenter, Karen Shalmine. And we want to understand from Karen, what are the top 3 best practices for MASI in business continuity planning in the context of empowering small and medium enterprises within your value chain? Karen? Yes, Karen, I think you're muted.
Yes, good day to all. Please, just sharing my screen right now. Good day to all. I acknowledge the organizers, my fellow panelists, and the audience. I'm Karen Charlemagne, representing Massy Stores St. Lucia, a retail chain of 12 supermarkets. Just 1 minute. Let me get back to the beginning of my slide. Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I can't seem to go back.
Perhaps I'll share for you.
Okay, go ahead. Start from the beginning.
You would have to stop your screen and I'll share it for you.
Yes. I think I go back. All right. I'm Karen Charlemagne, as I said earlier, from Massy Stores Supermarket. With us, it's a two-market chain with a supermarket, a gourmet store, and a club store providing a variety of services to our community. With our service motto of delighting everyone, every day, every time, and a mission value to foster mutually beneficial and ethical relationships, we are thankful for this opportunity to address such a body on this topic, which we can relate to. With the onset of COVID-19, next slide. Next slide. Next slide. With the onset of COVID-19 in 2020, concerns over the scarcity of supplies and food security were realized. This was due to a number of factors, including unavailability of supplies and food security, and was due to a number of factors, including unavailability of products from our traditional foreign suppliers, logistic issues with shipping, along with restrictions imposed by foreign governments. This placed the spotlight on our local SMEs, especially those who had limited capacity and may have been vulnerable to the pandemic. It also highlighted our need to enhance our strategies to support our local SMEs and our working relationship. It must be noted here in 2018, next slide. Next slide. Yes. It must be noted here in 2018 that we had already set up a local supplier management system designed to build on existing relationships with our suppliers. These included measures to review and enhance various elements of the relationship with local suppliers as well as foreign suppliers, but more with a focus on the local supplier and supplier satisfaction. The company also has a dedicated resource who works with local suppliers to create placement for the product on our shelves, and category managers who work closely with the suppliers in support of product development. Having identified this, our strategy in forging a better working relationship with our local suppliers was fast-tracked. We met with our identified and critical suppliers, where we got an understanding of their capacity and foreseeable challenges for COVID-19. We shared with them Massy's business continuity and implementation plans for dealing with COVID-19 and expressed our commitment to working closer with them in order to minimize any major disruption to the supply chain. We engaged them on their business continuity plans and encouraged those who did not have one to set up measures that ensured operations continue if they were impacted by COVID. We also shared with them some forms of measures they could have put in place to help with minimizing any impact that COVID may have had on them during the pandemic. We also identified alternate suppliers for essential items and possibly unavailable items, imported items from those local SMEs. Slide 6. Our strategy of working with local suppliers was further bolstered by the Prime Minister's address to the nation on the 8th of April 2020, where he announced the government's social stabilization program with the intention of reviving the Buy Local campaign. As a result of the government's stated pronouncements to revive the Buy Local campaign, our managing director charged our local supplier relations department and our marketing department to review their plans with the objective of energizing the Buy Local campaign. Meetings were held with various stakeholders, including Small Enterprise Development Unit, the St. Lucia Manufacturers Association, the Ministry of Commerce, amongst others. There were two notable outcomes. One, helping the SMEs diversify and become more resilient through funding, technical assistance, and market presence. Two, massive funded local supplier campaign. That created the building or resiliency in the SMEs as a key component of the strategy, and created market share and demand through placement and promotion of the products using our multi-channel platforms and encouraging diversification. As a result of those notable achievements, local bakers now have on our shelves alternates to imported products. Plant, Eat, Grow, one of our largest agricultural producers on the island, lost their largest market, the hotels, and closed down. Through this program, they were able to jumpstart operations in the heart of the pandemic with a guaranteed market through Massy, and now are in discussion of the possible export to other Massy stores in St. Vincent and Barbados. Local manufacturers of hair products, skincare, hand sanitizers, and other HBC items have been introduced to the market and are now on our shelves. Local agro-processors of fruit juices, vegan ice cream, other ice cream products are all part of this success. Carrion Grains now supplement the importation of flour into St. Lucia that was strictly an imported product, and now have 2 SKUs on our shelves. We just concluded season 1 of Massy Local Supplier campaign that highlighted 10 manufacturers, giving extensive visibility to through all of Massy promotional networks, that is our TV channels, our social media, print, and YouTube, focusing on promoting confidence in those products and helping to boost the local economy, the SMEs, and making them more resilient. Right now, we invite you to view a small presentation of one of those success stories.
With the right support, small and medium-sized manufacturing enterprises have the potential to boost economic growth. It is this understanding that spurs Massy Stores to improve its relationships with this supplier segment with accelerated focus since COVID-19. Rigadol Spice is the local manufacturer of herbal teas and spice shakers. Owner Janita Rigobert says her company has been able to grow and leverage various market opportunities over the 7 years that she has working with Massy Stores.
Look, with COVID, I'm just saying to myself, it wasn't Massy, I did not know what I would do, because Massy have helped my business to grow a lot, and a lot of people know about my product. Imagine when I go out there, some people will tell me, hey, I didn't know about that product, where can I get it? I tell them, all Massy outlet. And when I say all Massy outlet, I'm feeling as if I'm floating in the air.
All of the inputs to Rigadol Spice came from herbs indigenous to St. Lucia and cultivated by the owner herself.
I've worked for about 2 to 3 hotels, and I'm seeing the kind of teas they're using. So I decided to do something different. My grandmother used to grow a lot of ginger and a lot of turmeric. And one day I decided to harvest some ginger, some turmeric, and then I decided to grind it, turn it into powder form. And I gave it to a few friends, to samples, and they gave me some great feedback. So I decided, if I'm getting so much feedback on that, good feedback, it's best I go ahead and try some other herbs.
Maria Johnny is behind a locally made skincare line of body butter and body scrub that comes in a variety of fragrances. While still a relatively small startup, the owner says the feedback from the public is very encouraging. She's confident that the good working relationship which she enjoys with Massey and the added visibility from the campaign will help push a small business in a positive direction.
So this is a very good idea. And you're actually pushing the local people to come out there to do their stuff. And as I said, everybody has talent. Everybody can do what they put their mind to do. As long as they put their mind, they can do whatever that they can do. Don't be afraid. I mean, I'm shy. But whatever you put your trust in, you can make it happen. For those persons out there that want to start their own products, go ahead, start. You have places like Massey that and the government trying to promote it. Why not?
These two uniquely St. Lucian products are all natural and can be found at Massey Store supermarkets island-wide. Joachim de Plessis, HTS News Force.
Thank you very much, Karen, for sharing the valuable experience of Massey in supporting and empowering MSMEs within your value chain. We now move to Luis Fernando Celesio. Luis, what are the top 3 lessons that you have learned in improving resilience through business continuity planning?
¿Qué tal? Muy buenos días. No sé si se escuchan. Sí, listo, gracias. Pues buenos días, gracias por la oportunidad. Hoy realmente lo que queremos comentarles es justamente la invitación de qué estamos haciendo en Grupo ITSA. Nosotros somos una empresa constructora en Guatemala, una empresa guatemalteca, y realmente por medio de centrarse y a raíz es que nosotros conocemos el tema de la resiliencia y su gestión. Antes no sabíamos el término ni siquiera resiliencia, y cuando escuchamos el término incluso hasta sonaba complicado, ya la palabra en sí. Y cuando empezamos a conocer del tema de cómo debemos de trabajar planes para poder dar continuidad al negocio, pues sonaba también un poco retador, complicado y demás. Sin embargo, lo que hoy les quiero enseñar es justamente cómo nosotros, entonces internamente lo tomamos, y lo que les quiero traer como 3 ideas justamente es que nosotros ya trabajamos con modelos de gestión, calidad, seguridad industrial, medio ambiente, y eso es lo que les quiero dejar. Tal vez hoy por hoy nosotros todavía no tenemos un plan de continuidad de negocios por escrito, formal, un documento, literalmente, pero sí hemos utilizado y los modelos de gestión, realmente, para que estos nos sirvan a ser más resilientes, para que realmente podamos salir adelante y para que podamos estar preparados ante los riesgos a que nos vemos todos los días. Guatemala, estamos en el top 10 de los países a nivel mundial con mayores riesgos, ¿sí? Entonces lo que se busca es justamente empezar a trabajar en estas líneas, y las 3 conclusiones a las que les puedo llegar puntualmente hoy y dejarles ahí es justamente eso: no dejar morir, como le llamamos, o que se mueran los sistemas de gestión, que se estanquen los que ya pueden estar teniendo o que están empezando a funcionar. Si tenemos dificultades para implementar, para documentar, para hacer gestión, no nos demos por vencidos al momento de estar trabajando con ellos, y que los sistemas sigan funcionando, que sigamos trabajando ellos, sigamos fortaleciéndolos, sigamos documentándolos, para que realmente estos sistemas son los que nos van a ayudar a ser resilientes, identificando los riesgos, documentando nuestros procesos, documentando cada una de las situaciones vulnerables a las que somos, y que todos podamos hacer planes de continuidad, justamente. Entonces esos sistemas muchas veces se vuelven cargosos para unos, para otros piensan que es difícil, pero cuando nos empezamos a entender nos damos cuenta que todo eso nos trae beneficios. Pues no los dejemos morir, sino que al contrario, como bien nos dicen los mismos sistemas de gestión, hagámoslos de mejora continua. Innovar y mejorar cada día esos mismos modelos. No dejemos de que ya estamos establecidos, y ahí está mi plan, ahí están, ya identifiqué mis riesgos y esas acciones se cometieron y ya están listas. No, tenemos que continuar mejorándolos y llegando a los siguientes niveles que ya pusimos como meta, que nos pusimos, nos trazamos. Tenemos metas que ir cumpliendo, y en la medida de lo posible, justamente, mientras más fortalecidos hagamos nuestros planes y nuestros sistemas, pues mejor preparados vamos a estar para esas vulnerabilidades, esos riesgos que se podrían llegar a materializar. Y por último, mantener capacitado a todo el personal. Eso es fundamental. Debemos entender que toda la gente, toda nuestra estructura, todos los que trabajan con nosotros, nuestros colaboradores y cada uno, jugamos un rol importante para esto. ¿Y qué importancia tienen cada uno en esta línea de la resiliencia, que debemos saber que no debemos dejar morir los sistemas, no dejemos de morir nuestras empresas, porque todos perdemos, no solo la empresa, sino que cada uno de nuestros trabajos se pierden y perdemos cómo poder mantener a nuestras familias y así crecer esto realmente y multiplicarlo a nivel nacional, a nivel de país. Si todos ponemos eso en cada una de nuestras áreas, en cada una de nuestras empresas, realmente así es como vamos a concatenarnos para que el país realmente sea resiliente, porque todos vamos a hacerlo. Entonces tenemos que mantener en la mente de las personas que eso es lo que nos interesa, que eso es lo importante que tenemos que estar haciendo. Y entonces ya con temas de COVID, ¿qué es lo que se hace? Pues justamente la vulnerabilidad de factores inesperados. El COVID a todos nos agarró así, a nivel mundial. A nivel mundial, el COVID no lo conocíamos. Entonces, ¿qué hacemos? Identificar e informarnos rápido de los peligros y los riesgos, los nuevos que está pasando. Eso para todos era totalmente novedoso. Hay que ser reactivos inmediatamente para empezar a entenderlo, empezar a comunicarnos, empezar a buscar la información adecuada. Para adaptarnos prontamente y eficaz, no podemos estar esperando que alguien nos venga a rescatar. Nosotros tenemos que rescatarnos y ayudar incluso a rescatar a alguien más. Entonces tenemos que empezar a trabajar rápidamente con esas vulnerabilidades inesperadas que debemos tener. A todos nos agarra de improviso. Y lo hacemos a través de un sistema integrado de gestión. Como ya teníamos nuestro sistema integrado, entonces ahí fue donde aprovechamos la herramienta que les decía, hay que estar mejorando, estar trabajando y demás, no dejarla morir, para que esa fue nuestra herramienta que utilizamos nosotros para poder introducir esa nueva vulnerabilidad o ese nuevo riesgo al COVID que identificamos. En Guatemala, como en todos, a nivel mundial se cerraron el país. Estuvimos cerrados por varios meses. Pero entonces aquí es donde nosotros logramos empezar a trabajar inmediatamente. Les diría yo, en un mes, prácticamente desde que se cerró el país, pues nosotros logramos hacer esos cambios. Y empezamos a trabajar y a buscar. Y como en todos los países, pues obviamente lo teníamos ya. Hoy pues ya utilizando mascarillas, el distanciamiento personal, las mamparas en comedores y en áreas de construcción, que les digo que nosotros trabajamos, eso lo tuvimos que trabajar, como les digo, para que no se muriera la empresa, para ser resiliente y salir rápido. En menos de un mes, desde que vino a Guatemala, el 16 de marzo, a Guatemala fue cuando entró y el presidente declaró justamente la primera, se cierra el país. Un mes después nosotros estábamos abriendo nuevamente ya nuestras operaciones con protocolos, con diseños, con el personal capacitado, empezando a conseguir justamente las mascarillas, conseguir todo lo que necesitábamos tener, el alcohol en gel, y tuvimos que investigar y buscar proveedores para que pudiéramos empezar a hacer compras para volver a salir a construir, y no podíamos dejar. Y gracias a Dios funcionó la estrategia, nos funcionó el tema por estar preparado, por habernos mantenido, y nuestra organización no tuvo que despedir a ninguna sola persona de las que tuvimos. Logramos activarnos inmediatamente para poder ser resilientes. Esos son algunos incluso de los protocolos, como digo, que se tuvieron que diseñar inmediatamente. Nuestras políticas se tuvo que diseñar, tuvimos que entrar a jugar un rol muy pronto, obviamente, para no destruir la empresa. Entonces, hay que ser muy resilientes en el sentido de mantener esa dinámica, pensando justamente en los riesgos, manteniéndonos activos en esta línea, en un plan que realmente nos mantenga. Lo logramos hacer en el tiempo, a través de los sistemas de gestión que nos sirven como herramienta para poder trabajar y seguir trabajando para todos, y que toda la empresa realmente pudiera seguir continuando para dar trabajo a todos y poder ser realmente apoyo a todas esas familias que estaban en ese momento teniendo esas situaciones, y que ellos también conocieran de lo importante que era empezarnos a cuidar, a guardar, y que realmente nada fuera a pasar en esa cadena que realmente todos trabajamos de valor, y que realmente busquen las empresas de ser, que cada una de las personas que laboramos seamos resilientes y podamos ser activos en esa línea. Pues por el tiempo creo que eso es lo que les queríamos dejar. Habría mucho más que platicar justamente y contarles, pero eso es lo que realmente hemos aprendido, y con el tema de COVID pues logramos resolver de forma inmediata a través de los sistemas de gestión y un plan. Muchas gracias y quedo siempre a sus órdenes. Excelente día.
Thank you very much, Louis, for sharing with us these notable points. You did mention that every part of the organization is important. Every chain is important. So it's important to train our employees. It's important to constantly update our systems and multiply what we're doing on a national level. Now that we've understood from our three panelists on the questions that we asked, we invite Misha to help us to validate your opinion as the audience in terms of the questions that will be asking. So we ask Misha to come on and share with us the poll so that we could validate the opinion of our audience.
Thank you, Lizra. So we're about to launch poll number 2. And as Lizra indicated, the objective of this poll is to validate your opinion on business continuity. And Cynthia, can you launch the poll, please? Excellent. Thank you, Cynthia. So this poll seeks to ascertain, what do you believe is the role of government in supporting business continuity planning in the private sector? We would have benefited from insights shared by Andrea as she looked at the role that government should play. So the poll has been launched and we await your response. We encourage you to participate in this poll because it's very important for us to be able to get your insight as participants. Cynthia, can you just indicate if the responses are closed, because I'm not seeing the poll on screen? So far, I think I'm seeing only one. The poll is active, but I'm seeing one participant. We're welcoming your feedback. We encourage you to let us know your thoughts, your perspective. And Cynthia, just indicate to me when the poll is closed, and I will be able to read the responses. Cynthia? We have our responses. The main role should be to promote the creation of laws regulating BCPs in private sectors. And I think Cynthia will assist us with the Spanish translation of that response.
Yes.
Over to you,
La
Cynthia.
coordinación intersectorial e implementar las reglas que nombren por el ejemplo, la infraestructura y los planes de emergencia.
And that is indeed correct. We must have the relevant legislation to be able to support provide the necessary regulatory framework for business for the private sector as it relates to business continuity planning. A second response is enhance and lead BCP development to incorporate in private sector affairs as part of the national DRR plan. Indeed, we have to have that partnership from government if we are supposed to successfully, and one that involves collaboration from the private sector if we are supposed to effectively lead BCP development within the private sector. Cynthia, I'll give you an opportunity to read the Spanish translation.
Genera alianzas y aportar recursos, aunque son humanos y maquinaria, por ejemplo, y debe favorecer alianzas y garantías que aporten al beneficios mutuos, normar y regular sin sobrecargar a las organizaciones.
Thank you, Cynthia. And another feedback, and we appreciate the insights shared from our participants, says set a standard, divulgate guidelines, and create incentives for their implementation, certainly. So this speaks to not just regulation, but the standards to maintain consistency and also guidelines. And I like the recommendation that government should also create incentives necessary to encourage businesses to implement BCP plans. Thank you very much. Can we have poll number 2? The second question asks, how do you think large businesses can support the resilience of small business within the value chain? A very, very important question. And we, again, invite you to participate. We would like to hear your thoughts, your insights on this very critical question. So please, we invite you now to complete the poll by sharing your responses. Once you have received the responses, Cynthia, just share them and so that we can see what persons are saying with respect to this question. Very good. Our participants have shared their thoughts as it relates to how large businesses can support the resilience of smaller businesses within the value chain. And one response, give visibility and optimal, assist with the optimal use of their products and services. The second one looks at sharing the good practices, best practices, and know-how indeed, cooperate and collaborate in their implementation, and do joint training simulations. Excellent point. And another feedback on the assisting, helping to understand the business models of their small business suppliers and provide. Cynthia, could you just take that back up, please? I was reading and it has gone off screen.
I can read apoyando las estrategias técnicas y tecnológicas para el reconocimiento de su escenario de riesgos y las herramientas que usan para identificarlos. También hay apoyando igualmente como parte de la responsabilidad social en la transmisión del conocimiento y o asistencia técnica para un modelo de negocio con visión basada en la gestión del riesgo.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to have read the English translation. It's not on screen.
Share, disclose their BCP so that the small business may set their RTO, recovery time objectives, based upon RTO of BCP of the large business.
Thank you, Cynthia.
We also have a new comment in Spanish. Do you want me to read it as well? So.
Yes. And I guess if it's not in English, you will also have to assist us with translating.
El papel de las grandes empresas es vital. Cuentan con mayores recursos e influencia para crear sinergia en el sector privado. Pueden servir de ejemplo y desarrollar proyectos de desarrollo conjuntamente con el gobierno, infraestructura y telecomunicaciones. So the role of big enterprises is really crucial because they have a lot of influence to create synergies in the sector.
Thank you, Cynthia. I think in the interest of time, Lizra, I would need to go on to question number 3. What has been your experience, or what are your thoughts in this business continuity planning in improving business resilience? And I think that should be your thoughts on BCP improving business resilience. Launch that poll, please, Cynthia, so that our participants can share their thoughts with us. And we have one other question after that poll. So as soon as you get the results, Cynthia, please just share them on screen. And one participant shared the thought that all businesses should have BCPs. Certainly, I agree with that. You would have heard from Andrea how critical it is to protecting the assets of a company and help to minimize disruption and ensure effective recovery and continuity. If that's the only response, then please share question number 4. Please, Cynthia, please launch. And we thank all the participants who have responded so far. So what are your needs related to, as it relates to business continuity planning? And this is a 2-part question. Is it that you need it to serve as a guide or a template to improve business resilience, or do you value business continuity planning more in terms of the aspect of training and how it can support your business in using BCPs? We're just waiting to hear from our participants who are responding to the poll. You think it's closed, Cynthia? Okay. Well, it's interesting. We do have 7. Okay. So the final results are that 73% of participants feel that BCP is very necessary in terms of the need for training on how do we design CP. Okay, Cynthia, what's going on? The poll results keep changing. Do I have the final results here now? I do? Okay. So let's do that again. The results indicate that 67% of participants are of the view that we need BCP guide and template to improve business resilience, but the equal amount of response, which is 77%, also feel that we need training on how to design a BCP plan. I think that ends our polling, and we really want to thank the participants for sharing their insights, which certainly proves valuable as we continue to assess the lessons and the value of BCP plans in supporting business resilience.
Thank you very much, Mika. Thank you very much, both of you, for supporting our opinion poll and invalidating the opinion of our audience in this. As we segue from the last question, which asked about the business continuity guide and template, as well as if training is needed, we now move to another important part of our panel today. I know that we are quickly going against time, but we do want to have the launch of the CARICHAM Business Continuity Planning Toolkit. And at this time, I invite the chairperson of CARICHAM and the executive director of the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce, Industry and Agriculture, who will be supported by our project partners, Sophia Craig from McAllister and Craig Disaster Management, Inc., to lead us through the official launch. Brian and Sophia. You're muted, Brian.
My apologies. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of CARICHAM Network, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this important tool that will help companies and organizations throughout the Caribbean region to be better prepared and to deal with the multiple risks that impact our region. CARICHAM has formed a strong partnership with the United Nations Office for Disaster Risk Reduction, UNDRR, the regional office for the Americas and the Caribbean, and we are proud to be a member of the ARISE initiative. The CARICHAM Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group is one of the very most active groups of CARICHAM. Is under the leadership of Lizra Fabian of the Dominica Association of Industry and Commerce, and our moderator here. The Disaster Risk Reduction Working Group has created this business continuity planning toolkit, which is adapted from a tool created by the Calgary Emergency Management Agency. On behalf of all the membership, I would like to thank the UNDRR for the support of this project, and congratulations to our working group on the job well done. As we said before and has been reiterated, business continuity planning is a key activity that companies large and small need to undertake. This toolkit is designed to help the member companies who comprise the membership of chambers in our network to improve their BCP. The development of this tool has been supported by the UNDRR through the contribution of USAID's Office for US Foreign Assistance. This in turn will strengthen the resilience of individual businesses and collectively the overall resilience of the private sector and hence of our countries, our economies, and the society. So I wish to thank you, UNDRR. I wish to congratulate the working group, and I invite our consultant, Craig McAllister and Craig, to present to you the extraordinary work they have done in developing this BCP toolkit. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm going to go through this presentation pretty quickly. Okay, again, my name is Sophia Craig, and I represent McAllister Craig, which is a disaster and emergency management consulting firm with offices in Canada and in the Caribbean. And we've been working with CARICHAM over the past year to develop the business continuity tool that you will see very briefly today. But there will be, of course, more opportunity later on down the line to see it in much more depth. Just building on really what has already been talked about earlier on today, we know that the majority of Caribbean companies are aware of tools that can be used to understand their risk and build resilience initiatives. But we also know that 33% of small to medium-sized enterprises reported a lack of capacity and resources. So we've heard this already during these polls that we've just taken a look at, and we see it again in the UNDRR global survey. So we know that even though there are tools out there, there's a problem here. There's a problem in terms of knowledge and resources. And this is not something new that we've seen in the field of BCP. What we have seen over the past 20 years is that the business continuity tools and methodologies that were developed for big businesses, they just don't translate for small to medium-sized businesses. For those specific kinds of businesses that have, a much smaller number of staff and different kinds of resources and methodologies and processes, they need something simple. They need something that is user-friendly. So the tools that we've developed for the CARICHAM project are really designed to be user-friendly, adaptable, flexible, something that a small business owner can use and make sense of. So we have two resources that are going to be made available on the website soon. One is the guide to completing the business continuity plan, which is a document that will walk a business owner through the process of coming up with a business continuity plan. It provides explanation, resources, and most importantly, examples of how to fill in the template. The template is a Word document that will be downloadable. And it's incredibly generous of CARICHAM and its donors to fund this kind of initiative that is downloadable for businesses. They can take it themselves. They can expand the sections that they need expanded. They can take out the sections that they feel aren't as necessary or as relevant to them. So it's really adaptable, really user-friendly, really flexible, which is what we're really trying to get at. And the guide and template walk a business steps of creating a business continuity plan, analyze your business, assess the risks, develop strategies, make a plan, and test and assess your plan. So those are the 5 kind of chapters or steps that every business continuity plan process should go through. Step 1, assess your business, which really provides the tools and the template, really walks the business owner through the process of identifying all of the activities and functions that business has or does on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis and prioritizes them. This is an example taken straight out of the template around like what some of the resources, what some of the functions a business owner or business might undertake on a regular basis. And again, this is just an example of what you would see in the guide and the template. But throughout the whole process and throughout the guide, we encourage business owners to use whatever works for them. So if the list of essential business functions that we've identified here don't work, no problem. Be flexible, be adaptable. The second step is assess the risks. And in this section of the guide, we really try to take the guesswork out of assessing hazards. This is typically one of the parts where business owners will throw up their hands and say, I don't know how to do this. And so we really try to make it as simple as possible. So we provide the entire list of the UN hazards, but we also try to identify those hazards which may be more relevant in the Caribbean. And we point business owners to other resources that they may make use of. So for example, if they want more information, we point them to the National Disaster Management Authorities or to SEDIMA's resources online that can help them come up with strategies and get more information on the hazards that may be relevant to them. The tool also helps them to assess the risks specific to their own businesses and then plan for those risks that are very likely and would cause major damage or disruption to their businesses. So those risks that they do the assessment for that land in the high or extreme categories are then used as sort of the focal points for the planning processes in the template. Number 3, develop strategies. So the guidebook provides a number of strategies, but also helps the business owner to think of new ones. What kinds of strategies might they employ before, during, and after a business disruption or an emergency that will eventually be part of their plan going forward? So it really walks them through the steps and provides them with examples of those kinds of strategies. The 4th step, and you'll note that it's not up until we're all the way up to the 4th step before we're actually making a plan. And that's because the process is so important. And there's lots of studies out there showing that the business continuity, the process behind that is actually more important than the final document, because it's through the process that you're evaluating and you're thinking about strategies and you're speaking with staff and suppliers, other stakeholders. So the process itself is super important. The plan is also important, but we can't forget about the process leading up to the plan. This is just a really quick screenshot of part of an action plan. So business owners would, after assessing the hazards and recognizing which are the top threats to their business, they would come up with a very short and succinct action plan that would identify immediate, medium, and long-term actions and resources needed, all that kind of thing that they would need to have in place for a specific hazard. So for example, if there's a hurricane, what do you need to have in place before the hurricane? What tasks need to be done? Who's responsible? And again, this is meant to be a very short and succinct plan so that it's not something that is going to, it's something easy for people to read, something easy to train staff on, and it's easy to update. The 5th step is test and assess your plan. And oftentimes this is the part that kind of gets weighed by the roadside. People develop plans and then they sit on shelves collecting dust. And one of the main thrusts of the training that we provide to our trainer of trainers is, the business continuity plan is a living document. So we have to constantly be reviewing it, well, not constantly, at least on a yearly basis, or when something happens that you want to, hazards change, for example. So you want to be reviewing it on a regular basis and building on it. It's not a situation that you come up with a perfect business continuity plan the first time round. As you grow and as you change and as you learn and as things change in your environment, the business continuity plan will change. So the guidebook actually provides some examples and some suggestions on how to test your business continuity plan. The easiest would be a staff meeting where you sit around and discuss a potential emergency and walk through what would happen. So that would be maybe the most simple thing that you can do in 10 minutes to an hour. The other more kind of labor intensive or planning intensive thing to do would be, for example, a drill. Make sure that all staff know how to hook up the generator, or make sure all staff know how to, fix a cash registry that is no longer hooked up to the internet. Whatever drill, whatever action they would need to do in an emergency might be something that you want to get them to practice the actual action on. And I mentioned already that, we have a training of trainers program, and currently we're in that phase of the project where we are training key stakeholders from various chambers around the Caribbean, and we're training them so that they can provide support to their membership once the tool is actually launched. So the key messages that I'm trying to impart to all the trainers, we're really trying to make it kind of a focal point that the business continuity planning process, an imperfect plan is better than no plan. So we know that there's a lot of kind of anxiety around putting together a business continuity plan. We know that there is an intimidation factor for sure. So we want to remove that. We want to make it as easy and as flexible as possible so that anything that is done, it's better than nothing at all, right? So do what works best for your business. Be flexible. The business continuity plan is a living document. It's going to get better over time. Focus on the process, not the product. So go through the process. Don't think that there is an end point to this. This is an ongoing process. It's ongoing learning. And finally, as I mentioned before, an imperfect plan is better than no plan. So rather than getting really hung up on, getting that plan done and stressing out about it, it's something that a business owner should, feel some kind of flexibility on and safety on, that they can go to their chambers for support and guidance if they need to. So the next steps in the project, as I mentioned already, the training of trainers is ongoing to enable support to members. There will also be a partner information session at the end of November to walk partners through the process and the tools. There are how-to instructional videos also being done right now so that CARICHAM members can go onto the site and take a look at the instructions, and that will also help them in addition to the written document, in addition to the guide. It's an additional support for them to be able to fill out that plan. And of course, the tools will be available online through the CARICHAM website. So I've done this really fast. I'm sorry for moving through it quite rapidly, but I think that's it for now.
Thank you so much, Sophia, for sharing about what's part of our business continuity planning guide and template, and Brian for launching this tool, which will make a difference for businesses in the Caribbean and everyone else who will tap into this amazing resource. We want to thank everyone for coming to this session. We know that we're moving back to the main session very soon, but we encourage you to come onto our CARICHAM website. That's caribbeanchambers.net. caribbeanchambers.net, and there you'll be able to access the tool that we have, which is placed on the website, and it's CARICHAM BCP. So carichamchambers.net/CARICHAM-BCP, and there you'll be able to get access to the guide and the template. We thank everyone for being part of the session. Our presenters, Andrea, Karen, Louis. We also have Misha and Cynthia who supported with our poll, and Brian and Sophia for leading out in the launch of our BCP toolkit. We encourage you to continue to design business continuity plans and learn from all what happened in the past with COVID and multi-hazards as we build a more resilient private sector. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you at the main session.